The Daily Signal is coming to you live from the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We're joined now by Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry, a longtime friend of the Daily Signal, going way back to when you were serving in the House of Representatives.
It's been way too long.
Yes. Well, congratulations on your success, first as Attorney General, now as Governor. You are setting a high bar for other Republican governors in terms of the legislation you're getting across the finish line in Louisiana. Tell us about some of the success you're having.
Yeah, we've had a tremendous amount of success, and large due because the people of Louisiana, I believe, gave us a mandate, not only a mandate, but a great legislature to work with. We've got supermajorities in both the House and the Senate in Louisiana. We came in just barreling down. We did a special session on crime because crime's out of control. It was out of control in Louisiana. It's been out of control around the country as well, based upon, the woke policies of the left, the defund the police movement, the anti-bail, the, soft on crime. The hug-a-thug policies that have been going on have really created a lot of chaos in our public safety system. We went in and in 10 days passed 20 pieces of legislation that focused on victims, that put the focus of the criminal justice system back where it belonged and shed the light on victims' rights rather than criminals. And we did some things like truth in sentencing so that anyone could calculate the amount of jail time and sentences that a person found guilty is going to serve. It's like common sense things. We increased the penalties for carjacking and other violent crimes as well because we had problems in New Orleans. We did some good stuff when it comes to rehabilitation as well. When good people make a bad choice, we want them to have a second chance. We reformed our drug courts. We had about 3 or 4 different measures that protected the police, right? Where we said, look, you cannot interfere with a police officer in his duty. You got to stay 50 feet away from him, right? And these are all common sense things. So we did that in a special session. Then we came back in the regular session and we focused on education and economy. And we beefed up our school choice. We passed educational savings accounts, and then we passed the 10 Commandments law, which seems to have gotten the left's hair on fire, which is amazing to me. I'm like, I didn't know the 10 Commandments was a bad way to live your life. I didn't know that it was such a vile thing out there. But evidently, they don't like the 10 Commandments. I think when we think about the tragedy of this weekend, past weekend, and the attempted assassination on President Trump, maybe if the 10 Commandments were hanging in that fella's school, maybe he wouldn't have done that. You ever think about that? Like, you don't know. You know what I'm saying? And so we've done a tremendous amount of things, and we've got a lot more to do.
Yes. Well, it's encouraging to hear of the success. Certainly, the folks at the Heritage Foundation were enthusiastic about the school choice measure. So many states have taken steps in that direction post-COVID, when parents, I think, really were seeing with their own eyes some of the deficiencies in schools and wanted that greater freedom. Why did you make that a priority?
Well, it's interesting you say that. I think that I made it a priority because I believe, my mother was a public school teacher. She taught in the public school system. She was a basketball coach. She coached women's basketball team. No boys were on her team. She taught, she coached girls. I mean, and I'll tell you, she would always say that the most important voice in a child's education are parents. And for some reason, we've taken parents out of the equation. Yet we ask them for their tax dollars, and then we force them to send kids to schools that many of them are failing schools, and they trapped there. By giving school choice out there, you empower the parent, who then empowers the student. But one of the interesting things we did as well was we created a program called Let the Teachers Teach. So we got public school teachers together, and we said, what are the burdens that the government is placing on y'all that prevent y'all from being able to actually teach kids? And we said we're going to strip the bureaucracy out of the way to try to clear the classroom so they can focus on the child. But getting back, I think it's important for you to recognize that you made the point. COVID, I think, was the bellwether. I think COVID was the canary in the coal mine where moms woke up and said, wait a minute, I've been sending my child to school, and what is going on out there? You know what I mean? I think it finally was a wake-up call to say our public school systems are not educating our children. They're indoctrinating our children behind our back, and we're not going to stand up for it. And I think that you saw, just all of the things that we did, sweeping educational reform in Louisiana, because we're going to take Louisiana from the bottom and move it up to the top.
Yeah, congratulations. the Heritage Foundation, I think, as you know, does a scorecard every year to rate the states, and so I imagine Louisiana will be moving up.
Look, we should. We work hand in hand with them. You know, as you know, from my time in Congress, I've always got a great affinity and work relationship with the Heritage Foundation. It's a great organization. Look, I think we've got a lot of metrics that we have to move in Louisiana, and we're going to do it.
Yeah, no, it's a good way to measure your success. You obviously somebody who's a former attorney general. I know that there's a big focus. You mentioned the attempted assassination on Donald Trump. It seems that there is great concern among the American people that they are not going to get the truth from the FBI and the Secret Service. What should they be? What are the questions that they should be asking? What are you asking? And what are the demands that they should, as taxpayers, want to know about this?
Well, look, first and foremost, I think that the head of the Secret Service should be fired or should resign. I mean, it's just, either way. I mean, it's sad that you'd have to fire her. She should be able to leave on her own, and because you go around this, this entire city right now that's filled with Secret Service agents, and you can see it on their faces. They're great people, and they got a job and they want to do it, but they have been absolutely had their hands tied behind their back protecting the former president over the last 4 years. How many times have they asked for more security? I'll give you an example. This is the best illustration I can give you. It takes 11 men to play football, right? So it means it takes 11 men to cover the field. Well, if you're playing with only 6, you can't cover the whole field. You have to give the teams the proper amount of resources to cover the person based upon the particular threat. So I think the American people should be asking that. Why? Okay. Then we find out, I think today we find out that they knew almost 60 minutes over a complete hour that there was a potential threat, that they were looking for something. And then I think the media, as I said, the media I think has to shoulder some of the blame as well, because, the question is, were there any hesitation by any of those officers to just really try to understand what they were doing? Because in today's world, over the last 10 years, they place cops in this position of you damned if you do, and you may be dead, or somebody may be dead if you don't, right? But I think those are a lot of the questions, like how did he get up there? How was he able to carry a long gun out there? How did we not do this? 150 yards from the president? You got to be kidding me.
I know. It's some important questions. The Secret Service director, of course, was dodging them last night among some of
the only thing the Secret Service head should be doing is packing a luggage and going home.
Yeah. Governor Landry, what are your hopes for President Trump tonight? The acceptance speech is obviously a moment to speak to all Americans. What would you like to hear from him?
Look, I think it's going to be interesting. I think that it's going to be interesting to see the president after the attempted assassination. I think that affects a person no matter what, right? And I think that you're going to see a person that comes out and has, I think, a grave amount of humility and understanding for what the American people want and need. I believe that Donald Trump has possessed humility from the very time that I've met him and worked with him. I don't think the American people in the media see it that way. A lot of the mainstream media doesn't paint him in that particular. But this is a guy that cares so deeply. I think his pick of J.D. Vance was extremely brilliant, and what a great move. I think his speech last night showed why. Because I think J.D. Vance, I think what Americans want is a rebirth of the dream that J.D. Vance bought into, that only Donald Trump can deliver, right? Fair enough. And I think that's what I hope to hear from the president tonight, is a lot about we're going to build the middle class back, bigger, better, and that creates a safer, happier, more prosperous America.
Well, and I know that's what you're committed to doing for Louisiana, so thank you, Governor Jeff Landry, for visiting with the Daily Signal today. It's great to see you again, and we look forward to covering those future special sessions and legislative sessions in your state, because I know that there's a lot of work left to do.
Yeah, we'll have to get you to come down and cover some of it in Louisiana, but it's great to see you again. Been too long.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Governor. Governor Jeff Landry from Louisiana joining us live from the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We'll be back with more interviews at the Daily Signal.